Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out. This is episode 237. Can't sugarcoat it. Tough week again, right? With what's happening overseas. I am thinking of those affected here as well. Maybe you've got family or friends in Ukraine. I do hope there's an end in sight here. But I digress. This is a show called Tech It Out, so I'll stay in my lane, so to speak. Coming up this hour, we're going to learn about PocketHealth, which offers you a new way to look at your medical imaging, like x-rays and CT scans and MRIs and all that. It's a modern way to do it. After that, the Wise card. It's perfect if you live and work in multiple currencies, as it will save you money and aggravation. McAfee will join us with the results of a new mobile survey about our not-so-great habits with our smartphones. And finally, AptPay is ideal for freelancers, self-employed folks like me, as it lets you get paid when the work is done and not waiting 30, 60, or 90 days to get paid. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by ASUS, for those in search of incredible. I'll tell you more about ASUS shortly, but let's get to our first interview. Let's face it, healthcare has changed since the start of the pandemic, and with modern conveniences that we won't likely give up post-COVID, like seeing a physician virtually from anywhere via your phone, tablet, or laptop, unless, of course, you need an in-person exam. Now, same goes for having meds delivered to your door, but there's more, such as how you see, save, and share your medical imaging. That has also changed, thankfully, as we're going to learn about now with a platform called PocketHealth. We're joined by Rishi Nair. He's co-founder and CEO of PocketHealth. Welcome to the show, Rishi. Good to chat with you.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we talk about the solution, which is PocketHealth, what's the problem? What's wrong with the old way of getting medical imaging?
I mean, nothing's wrong with it if you love the 1990s. But in reality, while we love CD-ROMs for our music, to get our critical information, our critical health data, on a CD, which is what happens currently. Mm-hmm. You walk into a hospital, you get an MRI, and then the MRI that diagnosed you, they burn a CD for, and then you have to deliver that to your doctor when you're honestly sick and going through what is a very challenging health issue. That's really what's wrong with it currently.
Yeah, no, so we laughed about the 90s, but this is still very much the case in 2022. I mean, you are often given a disc. What are you going to watch that on? And how are you going to easily share that? Conveniently, I should say, and securely.
Exactly. And when we discovered this problem in 2013, it was ridiculous even then. And now, as we're chatting in 2022, it's just a situation that needs to be solved when you think about just how important this information is to you continuing your healthcare journey. And on top of all of that, when the pandemic hit, it made this entire situation, this concept of going in person to a hospital to pick up a CD, even worse. And honestly, just completely impractical for someone that's trying to navigate a really difficult time in their lives.
So talk to us about this epiphany for creating PocketHealth. So it was 2013, if I'm not mistaken, you and your brother Harsh, there was like a minor sports incident and you needed some medical imaging and you were handed a CD-ROM and you're like, this is just crazy. And that was 9 years ago.
Yeah. My brother is a techie guy like you, Mark. He was out in Silicon Valley. He's an engineer. He was playing tennis and the Nairs are unfortunately not a very coordinated folk. And he tripped and sprained his ankle. And he went to his family doctor and she said, go get an x-ray, go get an MRI. Right. And after he got that medical imaging, they handed him 2 CDs. And just this reality check of he's in Silicon Valley, down the road is Netflix, up the road is YouTube.
He worked for Google at the time.
Yeah, he's working for Google at the time. And he's like, literally, you can see a cat video with a click of your finger, but this information that literally diagnosed him was being burned on a CD for him. So that was quite stunning.
With that in mind, now talk to us about PocketHealth. What's the platform all about?
Great. So the platform is really a digital platform that enables hospitals to, instead of burning CDs for patients whenever they get imaging, to share it digitally with patients. So patients can go to a hospital that's connected with PocketHealth and then sign up. And then when they open their account, because we're connected to those hospitals, their medical imaging records, their report is waiting for them in full diagnostic quality. And they can then go and access it on any device. They can share it with any physician in the world instantly, whether they've heard of PocketHealth or not heard of PocketHealth, and then truly have all that data at their fingertips stored permanently for them.
And as long as the hospital or clinic supports the platform, and many do, we'll get to that in a moment, then your records are downloaded to that device. You log in securely, Rishi, and then you can look at your medical imaging, and that could be like an X-ray, an MRI, CAT scan, anything like that?
Yeah, that's right. All medical imaging. Even we get into complex things like PET CT or nuclear medicine even.
Can you walk us through how it works? So you sign up for an account, you have a scan or an X-ray, then it magically appears. Does it take a while?
Yeah, it appears pretty quickly because we're already connected to the hospital and it's completely digitized in terms of the file transfer. So we're not reaching out and coordinating with another person at the hospital. We do the hard work up front of making sure our connectivity is really solid and right at the source of truth inside the hospital. And then when the patient requests their images, their identity is automatically verified. And then more or less instantaneously when they log in, their imaging is waiting for them and they can share it in seconds with their doctor.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So one issue is that if you're handed a CD-ROM today, you may not have anything to look at it on. The other issue is having to manually bring it to your, say, your GP or what have you. So it is easy to share right from within PocketHealth?
Yeah, and that's something we've spent a lot of time working on because if you have a platform that works for you and you can view it, but if you try to share with your doctor, and they say, look, this is great that you have this access, but I want a CD. I'm used to a CD. This is what I've been using for the last 20 years. If that happens, then the system's not that useful for you, and this problem hasn't really been solved. Mm-hmm. So we spent a lot of time making sure that they were able to share in a lot of ways that actually worked for the healthcare industry, which is still on things like fax machines more than they are on email. Mm-hmm. So you can actually share using fax. You can print off a piece of paper with little instructions for your physician or your hospital on how to access your imaging. And they always end up in a full diagnostic experience. So they're still viewing everything in full quality, but they're not having to sign up for anything. And we found that it's easier than a CD from their perspective.
For sure. Also secure, right? It's like bank level encryption.
Exactly. And that's just table stakes in our opinion. So we put a lot of resources behind making sure that all data is encrypted, whether it's moving from a patient to a doctor, or even when it's sitting still in our data centers.
Okay, got it. Now, that's one benefit is to be able to see and share your imaging, your medical imaging digitally and securely. Another benefit to PocketHealth, and this is something that I thought was really cool, is that you can click or tap on your medical information that's often this sort of medical jargon and have it explained to you in plain English.
Yeah, this is newer functionality that we released over the last couple of months, and it's called Report Reader. Basically, with millions and millions of reports, we were able to figure out what were the terms that were most confusing for patients and what were the ones that if they knew the answer to, or even just a definition that made sense to them in language that was clear and concise, how much better would their follow-up appointment with their doctor be? Could they move from a situation where they're actually coming in prepared and ready to talk about action plans? So that was really the motivation to build this functionality. How it shows up in the platform is that when you're reading a report, you'll find maybe some of the most complicated terms highlighted. And when you go over them and click on them, you'll see a really easy to understand definition that's being generated on the fly for you for your specific report.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I can appreciate that because the point of this show that you're on now is I try to break down geek speak into street speak. So it sounds like you're doing the same thing with medical jargon. We are chatting with Rishi Nair. He's co-founder and CEO of PocketHealth. Talk to us about the adoption. It's been really high in some markets, right?
Yeah, so we started off in our home market, Ontario. We're now in the vast majority of all imaging clinics and hospitals across Ontario. In Alberta and Quebec, we're also launching in BC and Yukon very soon. And we expanded to the US about a year and a half ago, which is now our fastest growth market. So the reception has just been tremendous. It's obviously been accelerated a lot by COVID, which made CD burning even more impractical than it was before. I didn't know we needed that boost, but it's just a reality of healthcare and change is slow. And we're growing really rapidly in all of those markets.
What states is it available in at this point?
So we're in 22 states. Some of our largest ones are Florida and California.
But you could also share that imaging with a physician in another state that's even not supported by PocketHealth, correct? Is it like an email that you can send them?
Yeah, you can send an email. Right. You can print off literally a piece of paper to give the physician access. So we've had imaging shared into over 100 countries. And that was probably just in our first 2 years of operation. So this imaging really has made its way around.
As we wrap up, how much does PocketHealth cost?
So for patients, it's $5 for permanent access to your entire imaging history. And if you ever want to update your account, it's another $5. Patients can always call in and request that their fee be waived if they're having any financial assistance issues. We do that hundreds of times a week. And someone with a large family or someone going through a lot of imaging may also want to go on to an annual plan that we have called PocketHealth Connect. That's $50 a year.
PocketHealth.com. Rishi Nayar's been our guest, co-founder and CEO for the company and the platform. Thank you so much, and congrats on your successes to date. I think this is a fantastic and affordable service, so keep up the great work.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
When we return, the Wise Card. It lets you spend money around the world with low conversion fees and no transaction fees. We'll be right back to explain.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, everyone, to Tech It Out. A huge thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on this program. This is the company that creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. And that includes its line of award-winning laptops and desktops, monitors, smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, and so much more. Head over to asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. A very timely discussion for a few reasons. The Wise Card lets you spend money around the world with low conversion fees and zero transaction fees. It's currently available in several countries, including the US and Canada, and many places overseas as well. For a deep dive on what Wise Card is all about, who it's for, and how it works, we're joined by Sharon Ann Keene. She's Senior Director of Global Expansion at Wise. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Great. Now, before we get into this new consumer offering that you've got, can you tell us about Wise? And I believe it's formerly TransferWise.
That's right. Yeah. So Wise, we're a global technology company. We've got around 12 million customers around the world. And really our mission is that we want to build the best way to move money around the world across borders. So this is whether you're sending it to another country or whether you're spending money overseas or whether you're receiving international business payments. Like, our mission is really about making it easier for you to do those things and ultimately save you money in doing so. We do that through three products. We've got our Wise International Account, which allows you to hold more than 50 currencies and get bank details in 10 currencies and do very cheap transfers between those countries. We have our business proposition where we allow businesses to use this account for their needs. So that's a bit more scaled up, more users and a bit more functionality. Mm-hmm. And then the final bit is that we use our platform to enable other companies to do this too. So we offer them the ability to do these fast, cheap international transfers through their own platform by plugging into our APIs. We've been around for about 10 years and you're quite right. We started out as TransferWise and recently changed our name over to Wise to represent the sort of wider range of products that we're now offering.
And one of those products is the Wise Card that I hinted at earlier. So we'll get to that in a moment. But how would you say Wise compares to other digital platforms that are popular for moving money around the world, like, Venmo or PayPal?
Yeah, I guess like the thing that's really different about us is that we're very transparent about how we charge people for using that service. So our pricing is very transparent. We tell you exactly what you're paying for. And the most important bit here is when you exchange your money between currencies, we do that at what we call the mid-market rate. So that's the real exchange rate without adding a secret markup in there or sneaking fees in, which is what many of the other banks or international money transfer services will do. Mm-hmm. I guess the other thing that we uniquely offer is the ability to hold multiple currencies. and send and spend those instantly like a local at those cheaper rates.
All right. And then how does Wise make money?
So we do charge a fee, which is around 0.67% of the transfer amount. And that's really a lot less than most other providers. And the reason we do that is obviously we want to operate as a sustainable business so that we can continue providing this service to customers. And if you click through and look at the price that we offer, we try to explain what that comprises. So that's the partners that we work with and the team that run the product and those sorts of things.
Right. Again, boils down to transparency. Talk to us now, please, about the Wise card. What is it and how does it work?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we offer this multi-currency account where you can hold and send and spend money. So the Wise card is how you will spend. So it's attached to this Wise account. And really what it is, it's a contactless prepaid card that works just like any other bank card that you'd have in your wallet. The idea is, in our case, it's backed by this Wise account, and it gives you this real exchange rate when you're spending money in a different currency. And the idea is it does this very smartly. So you go to another country, it will automatically do this for you. You don't have to think about the conversion, and you can be assured that you're going to get the best possible conversion rate. And that works in many countries. Anywhere you travel, you can use it. You know, whether you're going shopping in some sort of store or whether you're withdrawing money from ATMs, that low fee is going to apply in any kind of transaction you use it for.
Does it only apply to the countries that support Wise? Or any country?
You can travel to wherever you want. So wherever Visa or MasterCard is accepted is probably the best way to imagine this. It works like any other kind of bank card.
And is this in partnership with Visa or MasterCard?
So the Wise card's a contactless Visa card. It's powered by that.
Talk to us, Sharon, about the Wise card being relevant for Americans going on spring break and maybe international travel plans resuming as well. How can this card help save, time and sort of headache and money on international transactions?
Yeah, so I guess the most important thing is that this card just works wherever you go. So if you're going to go overseas on your spring break or on a trip, you don't really need to think about it as long as you've topped up the balance and you've got some money on this Wise account. Your card will just work in any other country, and you can be assured that it will work at a cheap rate. So you won't get sort of hidden fees or unexpected charges for using it overseas. It will work in an ATM if you need to take money out and you need cash for your holiday. Equally, it would work if you needed to pay at the hotel or for dinner in a restaurant. It's an international card that will work just without any kind of thought. So we do the hard work for you there. We'll do the conversion in the background and just allow you to enjoy your trip without having to worry about that part of it.
We're chatting with Sharon Ann Keene, Senior Director of Global Expansion at Wise, a technology company that lets you spend money around the world with low conversion fees. And how much does it cost for the Wise card, and where can we learn more? So it's free, to get the card, but then there can be a charge to initiate your account and get that set up. The best way to do that is come onto the Wise website and sign up for the Wise account, and then you can process an order and get the card sent to you. All right. And what's that website?
Wise.com.
All right. Wise.com, WISE.com, just like that.
Right.
Sharon, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great spring.
Thanks very much.
When we return on Tech It Out, what you're doing wrong with your smartphone that's putting your data at risk. We'll chat with McAfee. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. Not a day goes by that we don't hear about yet another cyber attack. Whether it's a hack, a scam, malware or malicious software, ransomware, phishing attacks, data breaches, and the list goes on and on. Now, the solution isn't becoming a Luddite and living in a cave, but rather you should be trusting a cybersecurity partner to have your back. To learn what McAfee has to offer in 2022 and beyond, as well as the results from its annual McAfee Consumer Mindset Survey, we're joined by Judith Bitterly. She's Senior Vice President of McAfee Consumer Marketing. Hi, Judith. Thanks for your time.
Mark, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Sure. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. But before we talk about the Consumer Mindset Survey commissioned by McAfee, talk to us about the company. It's 35 years old. Is that right?
Yes. McAfee was founded in 1987, which actually makes us a millennial, like many of our subscribers. And I'm really proud to say that as a 35-year-old company, we've evolved, to meet the ever-changing needs of online behaviors. So we've gone from AV to really protecting what customers are doing online.
Mm-hmm. AV, of course, is antivirus, which is what we used to call a product like yours. But now it's more like a suite of cybersecurity tools. Is that fair?
That is fair. Yes. It's a suite of tools that protect you from AV, from malware, from phishing, identity, virtual private networks. So yes, it is an all-encompassing suite.
And what would you say makes McAfee stand out against the other cybersecurity providers out there?
I'll offer 3 points for consideration for your listeners. First, we have an incredibly dedicated and talented threat protection team of over 200 individuals that are focused on what the bad guys are doing, and they're committed to keeping our customers safe online. They actually enable us to block over 29,500 threats per minute. That's first.
Wow.
Second, we're a market leader 32 times, PC Magazine Editor's Choice. And then third, it's not about what I say, it's about what the customer does. And if you look at our business, McAfee is growing our subscriber base faster than anyone else in our space. And I fundamentally believe that customers vote with their wallet or their pocketbook, and hands down, they've been choosing McAfee.
And you said earlier, Judith, when you were an AV company solely, and I would also assume that back then you were really just protecting personal computers, but that's not the case anymore, right?
No, that's an excellent call out, Mark. It used to be about protecting devices. And what we know is that, especially over the last 2 years, with all of us in lockdown, our behaviors have changed. We're banking online more. We're doing telemedicine. We're doing online schooling, more online dating. And so the threat has moved not just to the device, but from the device to our behaviors.
It's not just computers, but phones and tablets as well, and other devices.
That is correct. It used to be this big computer that was sitting on our desk.
The monitor with the junk in the trunk.
And now it's evolved to laptops, to tablets, and especially, this report focuses on mobile devices.
So let's chat about that. The McAfee Consumer Mindset Survey is an annual look at tech trends. How long have you been doing this, and what are you seeking to find?
This study, we've been doing this for 3 years now. And this study in particular, we really wanted to understand the mindset of parents and their children so that we could understand and help them protect their children more. The research was conducted December 2021 across 10 countries, and we interviewed 15,000 parents who have children between the ages of 10 and 18, and 12,000 of their children.
Wow, impressive. We're chatting with Judith Bitterly, Senior Vice President of McAfee Consumer Marketing. I'd love to now talk about the findings, the highlights from the 2022 McAfee Consumer Mindset Survey. Can you share some of those?
I would be pleased to share some of the highlights with you. We found there's so many opportunities that parents have to extend protection to their children. We discovered, very interestingly, that parents tend to focus more around protecting girls on their mobile devices than boys of the same age. And when we spoke to the children, what we found is that the boys in the United States reported more cyberbullying than the girls. So as parents in the United States, there's an opportunity to level set and to make sure that we're really covering both genders of our children. What we also found is that usage in the United States of mobile devices was different by gender. Girls reported adopting almost all mobile activities at a higher rate than boys. So they were very much early adopters.
TikTok. I blame it on TikTok. Yeah. All right. So now let's chat about how to protect ourselves. So obviously there's some common sense things like not clicking on an attachment, but what about cybersecurity software?
What I would advise your listeners to do is to look at their mobile devices in their household as if it's a house themselves. When we secure our house, we make sure the windows can lock. We make sure the doors can lock. We make sure that there's no entry points that leave us vulnerable. So there are 4 tips that I would like to offer up to the listeners. Mm-hmm. One, do this simple health check on the mobile devices. Number 1, is protection software installed on the device to protect from malware, threats, viruses? Very simple. Second is, to your point, are passwords being used to lock the device? and don't use 1234 as a password. But it's really easy to sit down, at after a family dinner and say, okay, everyone pull out your mobile devices. This is how we're going to set up passwords, and do it, and do them individually. Third is I would recommend using VPN, virtual private network software, on your mobile devices. Have it on the mobile devices when you're doing private and secure transactions. If you're doing banking, if you're doing telemedicine, if you're doing shopping, if you're doing your college applications on your mobile device, there's so much private information that's going out. Make sure that you have a private network that others aren't seeing that information. And then last, based on what we found around potential identity theft, is, again, use software as a powerful tool to protect the identity of the parents and the children, and make sure that identity theft protection is loaded on that mobile device as well.
These are all great tips, Judith. Is there a website you'd recommend? Is it simply McAfee.com?
Yes, www.mcafee.com, and then look for our section on blogs. There's some amazing tips and tricks for how to keep your family safe, however that family looks.
All right. Judith Bitterly, SVP of McAfee Consumer Marketing. Thanks so much for your time. Very insightful.
Mark, thank you so much.
Speaking of protection, don't forget to back up your important files on a regular basis. A huge thank you to Western Digital, the parent company to WD and SanDisk, for your support on Tech It Out. I use your external drives all the time. When we return on the program, we're going to chat with AptPay about getting paid faster. Who doesn't like that? Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
You're listening to Tech It Out. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. Before we continue on with the show, I want to give a huge shout out to Alan Peterson, the soon-to-be former National Production Director for the Radio American Network. He's the gent that I send my show to every week, and he cleans it up, makes me sound good, and gets it ready for everyone across the country to hear it on either terrestrial radio or in podcast form. But Al has been fantastic to work with over the past almost 5 years that I've been with Radio America, and I'm wishing him well on his retirement. All the best, Al. Enjoy it. You've certainly earned it with how long you've been at the company. All the best. All right, let's continue on with this show. While tech has changed virtually every facet of our lives over the past decade or so, when it comes to payment processing, why do so many self-employed folks, including freelancers, have to wait weeks or even months to get paid for a job when they could be paid in minutes or even seconds? Well, a company called AptPay says this is possible to get paid that quickly. And so I wanted to invite onto the show AptPay's Chief Executive Officer, Shams Syed. He's here to explain how AptPay works. Thanks for your time, Shams.
Hey, pleasure, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So I kind of painted this scenario in my introduction, but it's been said good technology solves a problem. So what's wrong with the way that employees and freelancers like myself are usually paid today?
You know, one of the biggest things is you look at a pay period today, you say it's 15, 30 days, but who really lives 15 days, 30 days at a time? I work every day. I'd like to get kind of what I earn almost every day. I know that's not practical in today's world. It's just not the way things happen. But what if they could? There's obviously for a business, there's operational costs and just everything happening in order for that to get done. But what if we could make it easier? What if you could want to buy something 4 days into a pay period and not have to wait 15 days to get your check? And that can all happen, right? So we work today with real-time payments, and that's exactly the way the world's going. So what's wrong with how we get paid is I don't get my money when I need it. As freelancers, it can take weeks to months to get paid. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't seem right, especially in the evolving world we live in today.
All right. That sets us up nicely for AptPay. What's it all about? How does it work?
So AptPay, basically, we're a payment processor. We look at ourselves really as a payment hub. We allow disbursements to happen in real time. So business to consumer, business to business. Imagine, putting an insurance claim in and having to wait weeks, maybe, God forbid, there's a heavy windstorm and the rains caused my roof to break, and I have to wait 5 weeks or 4 weeks to get a check. Well, we can actually move that money from a business to consumer instantly. So once it's processed, it's approved, you can have your money in your account within seconds. We normally say 30 minutes, but it's within seconds. You can use that in basically any use case in the world where a business pays a consumer or a business needs to pay a business. They say cash is king, Mark, and the reason is because it's tangible. If I came and gave you $10 today, you can walk into the nearest store and spend that money. Digital doesn't do that today. When I put money in somebody's bank account, it can take up to 48 hours. If that's a check, it can take up to a week. We make that entire process instant and secure in your bank account.
All right. So obviously the business has to be on board here. So as a freelancer, I can just tell you anecdotally, some of my clients are net 60 or even net 90. Yes, they do have to wait up to 3 months sometimes to get paid, which is not great. So businesses need to adopt this first and foremost.
Absolutely. But the way we look at it today is businesses are going to pay anyways, right? So when you look at a business side of things and not the consumer side, when a business needs to pay somebody, they will obviously allocate funds. They'll have it separated in another account, and they've already made that payment. But money doesn't travel that fast, right? If I'm paying somebody overseas or I'm paying somebody as a contractor and I'm using a certain system, money gets debited from my account, but it might not be in your account for a couple of weeks. And that's only because the gateway, let's say in the middle, or the processor in the middle does take some time to move those funds. The money is left the business's account, but it might not come to your account for weeks or days. We change that process. So we not only say that, hey, Mr. Business, you can keep that money in your account till the last minute till you need to send it. But hey, Mr. Consumer, you can get that money instantly. So if you have a net 30 days and the business says, I'm going to pay you 30 days, you don't have to wait the additional 10 or 15 days after that for that payment to get processed. It will come into your account on that 30 days, 1 minute. That's what we change, right? So how you get paid, how that invoicing happened doesn't change, but the money moving, that changes on our side.
All right. So with that in mind, Shams, we are chatting with Shams Syed. He is the CEO of AptPay. This is a payment processor that focuses on dispersing funds to consumers from businesses in virtually real time. With that in mind, walk us through the process from beginning to end for the employee or the freelancer.
Absolutely. So basically, an employee, or let's say a freelancer in this case, would say, okay, I worked X amount of hours. They would bill their employer. Employer would get that invoice. They basically go into a portal and they say, okay, I owe, let's just say Mark in this case, $3,000 for that job. Amazing. They would put in the amount. They obviously already have your information on file, or if they're setting up the first time, all they need is your driver's license and your bank account number. We also do all the verification in the back end, Mark. So we're checking if there's any bad actors in the ecosystem, who you're actually sending the money to, the accounts associated to it. So we're actually doing all that kind of KYC, know your customer. We're also reporting into, in the US FinCEN and Canada FinTrack. We're doing all of that due diligence on our side. And then the employer basically says, okay, I'm sending the money. They disperse the funds on their side, and the money basically moves from their account into your account within seconds. We've actually done this many times where we have said, okay, by the time you open your bank account app, the money will be in your account. And that's exactly how fast it moves.
It almost sounds too good to be true. We'll continue chatting with AptPay after this short break, a little bit more on how it works, how to get going, and how the company gets paid. We'll be right back. You are listening to Tech It Out on the Radio American Network. Stay with us.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We are chatting with Shams Syed, Chief Executive Officer for AptPay. This is a fintech startup that is disrupting the payment space. Imagine completing a gig as a freelancer like I am and getting paid in hours or even minutes instead of days, weeks, or months. It sounds a little too good to be true. Now, before we talk about how AptPay gets paid, I'm sure there's a commission or something like that. For the businesses that are listening or those who work in AP or what have you, how do they get going with AptPay?
So we've got 3 simple methods. So one, we have, a simple white label portal. So you can log into the web page. Obviously, it's all secure. We give you the credentials. We make it look and feel like your account. We set up your bank account with it. And you're basically good to process. You can actually have that entire account set up within a week, and we can make it live and ready for you to go to make payments within a week. Now, we also have a little bit of an extended version. You can do an API. It can be your UI. It can be your feel. And you can integrate our API, the entire stack that we have kind of created, and you can put that into your own system. So if you have your own accounts payable, accounts receivable, you can put into all of those systems today.
Okay, got it. I remember a company called Ceridian offering this, or at least in theory. I was at one of their events. I was actually speaking at one of their events, and they said this is coming, where you don't have to wait the typical, every Friday or every other week to get paid. If you want it sooner, they can do it. Is it similar? Are you familiar with that company?
I am very familiar with that company. And you're absolutely right. A lot of organizations have actually been talking about this for a while now. We've built a lot of companies in both cross-border, right, US and Canada. And a lot of them say we would love to get money into our employees and contractors' hands in real time. But the integrations and even going live with it, and the biggest problem is there's a lot of scrutiny around real time, right? Because money moves so quickly, are they doing all the checks? And that's what we get asked all the time too from the networks and the regulators. They say, guys, how do you make sure who you're sending the money to is actually a good actor or a bad actor?
Right. Are you trading security for speed?
Exactly, right? And that's why our tagline is basically simple, safe, and secure. We have a redundancy in basically safe and secure only because we're doing everything end to end. We're checking, the person. We're making sure they're not flagged anywhere. We're making sure there's no AML, there's no risk, and the business is safeguarded from sending the money to the wrong person. So we're doing all that and getting your money there within seconds.
And sorry, what's AML?
So AML is anti-money laundering. So those are the rules that are in place today for how money moves and the regulations that the networks and the banks have.
Got it. All right. So let's wrap up, Shams, on how AptPay gets paid.
So we have a very transparent model. Ours is basically a flat fee. So it doesn't matter if you're sending $1 or $5,000, we'll charge a business a flat fee, and they can either, charge it down the stream, or they normally take in the cost themselves. And the reason we've done that is we've realized a lot of freelancers end up getting dinged a fee for receiving their money. So it's the worst feeling, right? I worked, I earned, and now I have to pay $30 to get money. A business has to pay, and they don't want to pay it, so they're going to pass that fee down. It's normally a percentile, right? So it's 1.5%, 2%, up to X amount, or there's no limit. For me, honestly, always seems wrong. I say, I worked really hard for that money. Why am I getting dinged $50?
Just to get paid what you earned.
That's exactly it.
And what is that flat fee?
So it's normally $1.50.
Okay, per transaction.
Per transaction, correct.
All right. And Shams, if people want to learn more about AptPay, which again is AptPay, what's the best call to action, if you will?
So they can visit our website. They can go to aptpay.com. We have our contact us link down there. They can send us a message, and somebody on our team will actually get back to them and then start setting them up right away.
All right. AptPay.com. Shams Syed, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Mark. I appreciate this.
And thank you for tuning into Tech It Out this hour. I hope you enjoyed the several guests that we had. AptPay, McAfee, Wise, and PocketHealth. An interesting show, fintech and med tech, if you will, and cybersecurity too. Hey, if you have any suggestions for upcoming guests or topics, you can hit me up on social media. I'll spell my name again in a moment, but I'm on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It's Mark Saltzman, MarkSaltzman. I also have giveaways. I link to articles and videos that I produce. I write a tech tip of the day and a lot more. Or if you've got tech questions you want to hit me up with, that's all good. Again, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well. It's Mark Saltzman, Mark with a C, Saltzman with a Z. Thank you to ASUS for those in search of incredible. They're the title sponsor on this program. The company creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, and that includes its line of award-winning laptops, like its ZenBooks, its VivoBooks, Chromebooks, Expert Books, and Studio Books as well. asus.com/us/radio for more information. And speaking of computers, don't forget to back up your important files onto a WD or SanDisk external drive. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Tech It Out. Make the most of your week ahead, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend for another episode of Tech It Out. Bye for now.